Nature conservation is at the absolute heart of what Loch Lomond and the Trossachs National Park is all about. Starting with the mountains up behind me there, some of the highest mountains in Britain are in this national park, and they're wild, wet, rugged, craggy places with really strong winds, and it's winter time more often than it's summertime, and high rainfall, and you get fantastic bird life like golden eagles frequenting these mountain tops. You come down the mountains a little bit and you're into a kind of a moorland zone, and again other bird life such as black grouse. Come down a little bit further and you're into the incredibly extensive native oak woodlands and other native woodlands that we have in the national park. Some of the largest native woodlands in Britain are draped around the loch shores and mountainsides of our national park, with this fantastic diversity of not just the trees and the obvious woodland plants, but all these less familiar things, all the mosses and lichens and liverworts and other lower plants that really make up this temperate rainforest that we have here. And of course we've got fantastic fresh water resource here. We've got these really huge lochs, like Loch Lomond in particular, and they've got a huge diversity of wildlife associated with them. Just on the other side of the mountains there, we're going into the sea lochs, these huge fjordic arms of cold salt water extending right the way into the heart of the national park. So you've got this huge diversity of life, everything from sort of oceanic life to the Arctic environment of our mountaintops, all in one neat package.
In Wild Park 2020 we've got 5 wild challenges which we're taking forward between now and the year 2020. We're looking to improve our mountain bogs and conserve our carbon up in our peatlands. We're looking to improve the network of our woodlands. We're looking to conserve our red squirrel population, conserve our black grouse populations, and also address the threat that's posed by invasive non-native species. Loch Lomond and the Trossachs National Park is an amazing place for nature. It's extremely varied. We'd just love it if you just come and find out more about the habitats and species here and just enjoy them.
Red squirrels are one of Scotland's favourite animals, and they're also the only native squirrel species in the UK. They're the cutest little critters. Like whenever anybody sees them, there's always a massive smile. Especially children and families love to see it. Red squirrels face 2 major problems. One is habitat loss, and the second is the invasive non-native grey squirrel. Grey squirrels evolved in North America alongside many other species of squirrel. They were brought to the UK by wealthy Victorians and subsequently began to outcompete and replace red squirrels in their native habitat. Unfortunately, some grey squirrels carry a disease called squirrel pox. The grey squirrels are immune to this disease, but it will kill a red squirrel within 2 weeks of infection. Our wild challenge is to prevent the grey squirrels and any squirrel pox from reaching the core red squirrel populations in Argyll and the Highlands. You'll find evidence of squirrels in most large woodlands. You find very neatly stripped cones from the conifer trees. You'll find hazelnuts and beech mast that's been split in a particular way, but both species of squirrel do this. However, if you stay in an area with signs of squirrel for long enough, you might see the particular squirrel come, and then it's easy to tell whether it's a red squirrel or a grey squirrel. This is a wild challenge that everyone can help us to accomplish. All people have to do is record sightings of either species of squirrel anywhere in Scotland at our website, and in doing so they will help us to preserve the red squirrel, one of Scotland's favourite animals.
So rhododendron is native to the foothills of the Himalayas. It would have been planted by the Victorians in their landscaped gardens and estates, and since then it's crossbred, and the pinky purple flowered rhododendron ponticum has become invasive and escaped from those gardens and now has taken over many of our native woodlands. It grows really fast, it outcompetes, and it completely shades out all of our native wildflowers. which completely changes the character of the woodland. There's none of the normal plants that you'd expect to see, and it's not really a good habitat for our plants and our wild animals. And there's lots of other invasive species that are also a threat to the national park, like Japanese knotweed, Himalayan balsam. So just being careful when you're out in the countryside about where you're going and what you're spreading. And it's not just the plants, the freshwater invasives pose a real threat to an area like this. So roadie bashing is really fun, it's a lot of hard work. So what we've been doing in some of these woodlands is cutting down the rhododendron, making habitat piles, injecting some with herbicide, and trying to lever as much of the plants out of the ground as possible. So it's really rewarding work. Every time you go, you're kind of daunted by the amount that's got to be done, but then you look back and see how far you've come. And so we really can make a real difference with a few volunteers plugging away, and every bush that we take down doesn't flower and set seed for the next year.
Loss Estates is a large landholding on the west side of Loch Lomond within the national park. We first got involved in this project when we seen the SNH funding that was available for peatland restoration. Our landholding is principally upland hill, and we have quite a large area of peatland on the estate. That peatland has become quite eroded over the years through a combination of grazing and just general weathering. So we're keen to try and do something about that decline and get these peatlands into some sort of active management, both from a carbon mitigation point of view. Obviously the benefits of peat bogs locking up carbon are well known, and also creating a better habitat for biodiversity on the hilltops.
Basically, we have to protect the peat from further erosion. So over time, with the passage of water, that drips off the edges and erodes the peat away. The heather dies, bark drops off, and it's an ongoing thing. So we deconstruct the hag to give it a shallower runoff for the water, and also put turfs at the bottom and the top of the hags to make sure that the peat stays where it is. The terrain's a big challenge. If you're not working on a level site, the condition of the peat, it can be sticky and wet, so you can get bogged down. In the drier periods, you get the pools of water, they moss up. Like I said, they become habitat pools as well, which encourages more wildlife to come. But it means it'll soak into the peat. The peat gets wetter, and it's like a sponge. It just sponges it all up, and then you just get the encouragement. The peat, acid-rich soil, encourages your heathers to come. And you get your different plant species moving in.
One of the principal reasons for this was to try and have a good example of a private landowner working with a government body like the National Park in delivering public benefits. In this case, carbon mitigation in peat bogs. That's been a very successful project. The National Park really picked up and managed this project. Both for ourselves and with a partner up in Tyndrum, so they've managed both sites, and the project's been very successful, and I think the contractors have done a fantastic job.
So this morning we've been up ridiculously early, looking at a black grouse lake. So we arrived here before sunrise to be in the best position to see the birds, and what we've come to see is a lake of black grouse, and this is where all the males in a given area come together to display who is the fittest male, the strongest male, to the females, to the grey hens that will come and visit the lake. It's the ultimate kind of dance floor experience. You think they're black, but actually when you look really closely and you can see them in sunlight, they're actually this wonderful iridescent purpley sheen to them. And they have this amazing lyre-shaped tail, and when they're lekking, that all kind of raises up. and then you get the full wham of their white bum feathers, which is almost a perfect circle at the back, and that's what you can really stand out on the leg. They will get into quite big tussles and fights. Throughout the UK there's been quite significant declines in black grouse. In Scotland is still a stronghold of black grouse. However, the south and west of Scotland numbers have been struggling, and there's lots of reasons for that, and it's changes of habitats where habitat has been lost, degraded through intensification, through tree planting of the Sitka spruce plantations. We're now trying to get in place in any one area all the things that they need to survive throughout the year, and that's from the right nesting sites, providing the right food sources throughout the whole year, providing a good lekking site so that these birds can thrive. And that starts with really surveying and monitoring to find out exactly where they are and how they fare from one year to the next, to working with the landowners to improve the habitats for them. Black grouse are a brilliant indicator species because they are of this moorland woodland edge upland species that it's generally thought that if they're doing well, then your habitats are good, and therefore you're providing lots of other good habitats for other wildlife within the area.
I work for the Forestry Commission. I'm based in Aberfoyle. I am Habitats Manager for Cowland Trossachs Forest District. So I'm basically surveying the forest and identifying areas of habitat that should be incorporated into the Forest Habitat Network. The Woodland Habitat Network is a really important feature of the National Park. We've got a really wide variety of different woodland types, from lovely pine woodland to Atlantic oak woodland. We've also got lots of wet woodland and obviously lots of coniferous forests as well. We've got lots of iconic species, from red squirrels to pine martens, ospreys using our woodlands, lots of different types of birds. The Atlantic oak woodlands are really important for a wide variety of mosses and bryophytes. So the Wild Challenge is developing the Woodland Habitat Network and aiming to restore areas of woodland and link up existing areas of woodland. So basically trying to create a continuous woodland area that will be of maximum benefit for biodiversity into the future. The Great Trossachs Forest is one of the biggest native woodland establishment projects in Europe. It's certainly the biggest in Britain, so we're aiming to create an area of extensive upland oak woodland and native pine woodland. In the future, the Woodland Habitat Network will provide an extensive area of woodland for a wide variety of plants and animals. A huge diversity of species will benefit from the woodland and will be able to thrive and expand their populations. And this will also be enjoyed by people who will be able to go into the woodlands and see the wildlife for themselves.